the fact is, you've got all this matter and energy and that made the Big Bang, if it made it, or if the oscillating universe, whichever theory is right. I would just like to know where that came from. What made this gigantic universe come into existence?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm sorry to frustrate you on that, but as I said, the only thing I can say about science at this point is don't know, and that's the same thing that religious people say about their God.
Okay.
So, introducing a religion doesn't actually solve the problem.
No, clearly it doesn't.
And I know you said you don't like religions, but I mean, you also brought up a God. So what I meant by a religion is just a concept of some supreme being.
Yeah. You know, one thing that you might want to do is, there's a guy named Brian Greene. He's a physicist, and I think he was on a PBS series on, you know, the origins of the universe. So if you go onto the PBS website and you search on Brian Greene and his last name.
Is that with an E?
Yeah, with the E on the end.
Greene.
Yeah. The series is really great. You'll find it entertaining, and I think it may answer some of your questions.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks. And you know, I hope you either find what you're looking for or learn to be satisfied with not knowing.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I love the show. It's much better than when I used to have to go to church on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well, there's a solution to that.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Bye. And thank you to our crack research team in the studio for telling me that the Planck time, according to the prestigious Wikipedia, is 5.4 times 10 to the minus 44 seconds.
All right.
And sorry for blanking on that. I feel terrible. Sorry, Dad. Luca, New York. Luca from New York, New York.
Hello.
Are you there? Hi.
How you doing, guys?
Good. How are you?
All right. And I have a little story I would like to tell, which is primarily directed at any Christian watchers, listeners, maybe on.
Okay.
I have a cousin called Samantha, and she's a little bit overweight. And so she hired a diet expert who had her primarily eat oranges. And the funny thing about this diet expert is that it's not a person, it's actually a talking lizard that she keeps in a cage in her apartment. So obviously,
so
I'm
this is
hoping that
an
everybody
allegorical
listening to this will not
story you're
believe that
telling
story.
us, right?
Excuse me?
This is an allegorical story of some sort that you're telling us, right?
Of course.
Okay.
It's not, but my point is, you know, obviously people wouldn't believe that, right? And if instead of me telling it to people over, you know, over the internet or over TV, I were to write it on a piece of sheepskin, and then somebody made a copy of that, and a translation of the copy, and a copy of the translation of the copy, and 3,000 years later you were to read that same story, you still wouldn't believe it. So my question is, why is it that some people, when they read a story about a talking lizard telling my cousin Samantha to eat an orange, they don't believe it, but they, you know, read a 3,000-year-old story about a talking snake telling Eve to eat an apple, and they believe it?
Social reinforcement.
Yeah.
I mean, religions don't just spring up overnight for the most part.
Yeah.
People sort of get into groups and mutually reinforce each other, and then even stuff that sounds really weird becomes plausible because everyone else believes it.
Well, and there's childhood indoctrination, and the fact that very few people research the origins of their religious beliefs. So
right,
they don't know where it comes
I understand
from.
the mechanism from the perspective of us atheists. I mean, we look at it and we see, of course, that's what's happening historically and whatnot. But my question to somebody who is a Christian that may be listening to this is, you know, if I told you, you know, if your teenage daughter came up to you and said, "Hey, Mom, I'm pregnant, but it's not from my boyfriend of the last year and a half. I somehow got pregnant. It's not from sex." They wouldn't believe it. How can, I mean, I can understand how like a Bronze Age farmer or nomad or whatever might be told something and they'll believe it because their father believed it and their grandfather believed it. But you have like really well-educated, otherwise rational and intelligent people who completely segregate the portion of their rational thinking when it comes to believing fairy tales about Christianity. And I mean, it just incredible to me that they don't believe Red Riding Hood and the talking big bad wolf, but they believe in the virgin birth and in the talking snake and all this stuff. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, the world is full of logical fallacies waiting to be believed, and the truth is, people aren't nearly as rational as they think they are in general, and I think that goes for you and me. That there are probably some very stupid things that we wind up believing, whether we're aware of it or not. I don't generally think that people believe in religion because they're morons, but because there's a complex group of ideas that are competing for their attention. And people are always using shortcuts and rules of thumb to decide what to believe. And, some ideas take hold which don't really make a lot of sense, but they stick around anyway.
Yeah.
Right. I don't mind, let me put it this way. I'm a musician, right? And so sometimes right before I got a big show, I'll say to myself, come on, man, you can do it. You're the greatest guitarist in the world, something like that, right? I say an obvious lie to myself, and it makes me perform and do my job better, right? So I don't mind if somebody says, oh, yeah, it's Jesus that wants me to be a good and charitable person. It's Jesus that wants me not to kill. I don't mind if that makes them be not killers and not thieves and good, charitable people. I don't mind. But just like I know in the back of my mind that actually, by no stretch of the imagination, am I the greatest guitarist in the world, they should know that the guy couldn't walk on water and his mom had sex with her husband 9 months before he was born. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, sorry. I know it's harder for you guys to talk to somebody who agrees with you, so.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I don't agree with that.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling. And
All right. Can I say one other thing about the previous caller?
real quick.
Why is it so much of a problem to say I don't know?
Well, he eventually got to it.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
and of course they always wind up saying, I don't know, just about something else. And then they pretend that it makes sense to have injected that God in before the step of saying,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Okay, doke.
All
Okay,
right.
guys. Thanks so much.
Thank
Thanks.
you. David in Austin. Are you there?
I'm here. Hi, how y'all doing?
Hello.
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Well, to go back to what he was saying and what he said at the beginning, abstinence is, according to dogma, is not 100% effective.
Okay.
That's true if you happen to be the
they,
chosen
They can't
vessel.
really say, oh, it's 100%
Yeah.
effective when they're, in the next breath, they say, oh, Jesus' mother was a virgin.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Well, even according to
all.
Christian dogma, that hardly ever happens.
Yeah.
You got to admit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And considering how many people have existed in the world since the beginning, the rate of effectiveness of abstinence is so close to 100% as to be almost identical.
Yes, negligible numbers.
Right.
All right, well, y'all have a great show. I will be watching you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
There's an interesting thing. There have been no small number of Christian theists who've attempted to prove that Jesus only had 24 chromosomes by allegedly finding some sample of his blood somewhere. And that would be the 23 that he got from Mary plus the Y chromosome that he presumably got from Yahweh.
Oh, okay. And they know exactly how many chromosomes God has? God is mysterious and can't be investigated by science, but we know exactly how many chromosomes he has that are different from people?
I guess their point is that, that he wouldn't have gotten any chromosomes from God, but he had to get the Y in there because he was male.
Yeah, okay.
And otherwise he would have been female, and we can't have that.
But why wouldn't God have just created 2 or 10 or 500 chromosomes? I mean,
Yeah.
how do they know? In one breath they tell you that it's mysterious and you can never find out anything, and it makes him mad when science investigates things. And then in another breath they just say with absolute certainty the things that they think they know about God. It
Well,
just,
and you know, if it's funny because it's like if he was going to choose Mary as the chosen vessel, why not choose Joseph as the chosen vessel and just have Joseph do the deed? And that'd be pretty perfectly explainable, and you wouldn't have had that, you know, awkward situation where Mary's telling people, "Oh, I'm pregnant, but I didn't do anything."
right.